Very good evening, friends. So, I hope you're all safe as well as healthy. Well, I have been talking in terms of Ind AS 8 various aspects in a couple of videos now, and a main concentration has been in terms of accounting policy. At the first start, I focused on the definition of accounting policy, and we saw the areas of recognition, measurement, and presentation choices which could result in a selection of an accounting policy. Then I also took you to a list where the standard defines that these are not accounting policy. Now, interestingly, I am going to now discuss something very interesting, that if there is a change in the measurement base, that means, let's say, for example, you are under Index 16 or Index 38 and you are moving from a cost model to a revaluation model or vice versa. Or what happens if there is a movement from one standard to another? That means I'm moving, let's say, from Index 16 to Index 40, and I might be under a revaluation model under Index 16, and now I am switching over to a cost model under Index 40. Now I'm going to look at all these permutation combinations and see what does Index 8 define. So something related to what we discussed in the previous video and something additional in this video, we would merge our discussion and consolidate the learning out of the two. Let's dig this in a little more detail in this particular video. अगर आप अपनी अनअकैडमी की सब्सक्रिप्शन प्लान कर रहे हैं तो ये एकदम सही समय है, क्योंकि 14th और 15th यानी कल रात 12 बजे तक अगर आप अनअकैडमी पर सीए फाउंडेशन की या सीए इंटरमीडिएट की या सीए फाइनल ग्रुप 1 की या सीए फाइनल ग्रुप 2 की या फाइनल में ग्रुप 1 ग्रुप 2 का कॉम्बो या फाउंडेशन और इंटरमीडिएट का कॉम्बो प्लान कर रहे हैं, तो आइकॉनिक बैचेस और प्लस बैचेस दोनों पर आपको 12 मंथ्स के साथ 2 मंथ्स एक्स्ट्रा मिलेंगे. सो इसका मतलब अगर आप इसके अंदर 12 मंथ्स की सब्सक्रिप्शन प्लस आइकॉनिक कोई भी प्लान करें तो आपको सेम कॉस्ट में 2 मंथ्स एक्स्ट्रा मिलेंगे, प्लस साथ में आप मेरा कोड इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं CAKB10, आपको 10% डिस्काउंट मिलेगा, यानी 2 महीने एक्स्ट्रा भी और 10% डिस्काउंट भी. तो भाई किस बात का इंतजार कर रहे हैं? आइए, लेट्स क्रैक इट. First of all, I think let's look at what the para number 17 says, and I think the language itself is very explanatory. It says the initial application. The word is very clear. It says initial application of a policy to revalue the asset in accordance with Index 16 or Index 38 is a change in accounting policy to be dealt with as a revaluation in accordance with those standards rather than in accordance with this standard. Now, one thing which we need to keep clear is that if, let's say, for example, you took the initial measurement of a PPE at cost, it has to be at cost. The initial measurement cannot be taken other than cost. Well, let's not talk about a case of business combinations, etc. But typically, when you measure the PPE initially, it is always at cost. Now, first balance sheet date and subsequent balance sheet date. Now, when you're looking at the first balance sheet date, you may move from a cost model to a revaluation model. The para number 17, when it says initial application, it is talking about the first balance sheet date. When a company would change the PPE valuation from a cost to a revaluation model, that is on the first balance sheet date in the year of acquisition, it is undoubtedly a change in accounting policy. But that is not covered under Index 8. The accounting of that is covered under Index 16 itself. Second, now let's say you have converted to, let's say, a revaluation model in the first balance sheet date. Subsequently, in another financial year, you want to change over back to the cost model. Now that is a subsequent revaluation. The para number 17 would not apply. So in this particular case, if you subsequently change from a revaluation to a cost model or cost to revaluation model, it is again a change in accounting policy, and at that stage Index 8 will get triggered. So moral of the story, that if you say that there is a first time change in the valuation, the first balance sheet date when you acquired an asset, it is a change in accounting policy to which Ind AS 16 applies. You make a change in the valuation on a subsequent date, it is again a change in accounting policy, but then Ind AS 8 would apply. Now, what is the difference in terms of Ind AS 8 accounting and in terms of Ind AS 16? The moment you come under Ind AS 8 accounting, it's a retrospective change. And the moment you are covered under Ind AS 16, it is supposed to be a prospective accounting. So when you change the valuation for the first time on the first balance sheet date, it is a change accounted prospectively. When you change it at a later date, it is a change accounted retrospectively. Isn't that interesting? And let's look at another third situation, which I talked about that in the last video as well, that let's say, for example, you've taken a PPE and you started measuring at a revaluation model. Now you switch over to Ind AS 40. The use of the property is now capital appreciation and rental income. In those particular cases, it's not a change in accounting policy. So till the time you are within a particular standard, it is a change in a policy. But when you move from one standard to another standard and the measurement base is changed, you are under a revaluation model under Ind AS 16 and you come to a cost model under Ind AS 40. This is not a change in accounting policy because there is a difference in substance of the transaction. So in a nutshell, we can say there are three situations. You are applying Ind AS 16 first time, that is in the year of acquisition, a change in policy. Ind AS 16. You make a change in the valuation measurement base in a subsequent year, it's a change in accounting policy. Ind AS 8 retrospective accounting. You move from one Ind AS to another Ind AS, it is not a change in accounting policy. Isn't that pretty interesting indeed? That's all in this very particular video. Thank you for watching. Wait for some more interesting videos coming in on Ind AS 8. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.